Are we green? Hold on 1 second. I'm waiting to get the official YouTube link. I think we are offline. Whoa, hold on.
Hold on, I'm pulling it up.
We may be green. I don't know. Tell me I'm live, but tell me I'm offline.
Hold up. Yeah, we're up.
We're up? We're up. Awesome. All right.
Sweet. Yep.
Welcome, everybody, to MLR Tonight here on this Friday evening, Friday the 13th. I am here. I am Kyle Corbett, Red Sox center fielder. I am here with Mr. Q Kimbrel, center fielder of the Giants. Q, how are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. A little bit tired, a little bit sore. Kind of just struck out, but you know what? It's all good. I'm on MLR Tonight. Let's get it started.
All right. We've got a lot to dive into tonight. Of course, 11 games happening in this last session before the All-Star break, and we'll definitely dive into some ASG stuff, as well as discussing a little bit of an interesting article that dropped in the Discord server today. We've got a lot to get to, so let's dive right in with one of our completed games. That is Phillies and Pirates. That's our first game in the NL we'll talk about today. Let's kick it off here in the top of the third inning with the Pirates at the bat. Hudson Quinn on the mound getting his first start. Jay Burr talking about how he wanted to get some more faith in Pye on the mound. Well, Ashton Westenberg, vying for a spot in the final vote, steps to the plate. He'll smack a deep home run out to left field to score the first run of the game. A solo shot for Ashton Westenberg, his second of the year, making it 1-0 Pirates. That would also secure him the final vote. We'll talk about that later in the show, but he made the All-Star game probably based off that home run. 1-0 Pittsburgh. Next inning, top of the fourth, Jimmy John's at the plate. He'll ground into a double play, so no RBI, but Emmer Bach will use that opportunity to come across from third and score. 2-0 Pirates. Later in the inning, Baxter Payne, the left fielder at the plate. He'll hit a deep single out towards left field. That'll score Buckeye Logan the second, making it 3-0 Pittsburgh. And that would be all the offense we'd see in this game, as Pittsburgh would go on to win 3-0. Darth Vader would get a complete game shutout during 6 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, 3 walks, and 6 strikeouts, and also go on to win player of the game. Hudson Quinn would take the loss after only 2 1/3 innings after 4 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. Ashton Westenberg, of course, had a nice day at the plate. 2 at-bats, 2 hits, a home run, and a run scored, and that 1 RBI. Q, what do you think about this game? Pirates really kind of handling Philadelphia throughout all of it.
I mean, I think it's just showing that Hudson Quinn must be used as a reliever from this point forward. I mean, I know personally with Urich being on my team for quite a few sessions and seeing him pitch, he's got to be used out of that starter role. He can't be prolific at coming out of the bullpen. I mean, and I think what Jay needs to do is just reverse the two. I mean, it's worked in the past and it's going to work moving forward.
So do you think that Urich and you are basically should be a 2-man rotation and Quinn should be in the bullpen every game? Or do you think Urich is going to be the go-to guy at the front and you just kind of rotate the guys out of the pen?
I believe that what Jay can do is either he can do what you just said or he could just do 2 and 2 innings for each pitcher per game, having Urich start, you be the middle reliever, and then have Hudson Quinn come in to finish off the game. I just think that with Urich being able to keep people off balance at the start of the games, you just being consistent, and Quinn being able to shut people down in the end, just showing 3 pitchers per game could be a good look for them.
What about on the flip side with Pittsburgh? You know, you had Darth Vader. Obviously, he was excellent today, and obviously he's going to that's why he's going to be in the All-Star game next week. But, you know, they have an interesting rest of their group. They have Crumble Puff, who's kind of struggled, but he may have found his niche now in the bullpen. But you have Gray Oak, who somehow got the win in his first start despite giving up, 6 runs? 6 runs in his first start, only throwing 4 innings. So do you believe that maybe it should be Vader as the full-time starter and then having a rotation out of the pen? Or do you think maybe Gray Oak should alternate with Vader and then Crumble Puff should be the go-to guy when needed out of the pen? What do you think the rotation answer is for Pittsburgh?
I say let Vader go complete games for about, say, like 2 more sessions and then bring up Crumble Puff. Hopefully he'd be more polished at this point, and then possibly as an end of season move, bring up Gray Oak. Just let him become even more, I guess you could say, refined. Like, because pitching in the MLR, it's a whole different ball game, literally.
Let's talk about the Philly offense. Obviously, they had a great game last week against St. Louis, but that offense simply was dry this week. Justice, no hits. Conrad Love, no hits. Brown, hitless. Takegi, hitless. Zach Anderson didn't play. Bay Jr. got no hits. In fact, the only two guys with hits all game, Jamison Wells got a double. No, sorry, that was a single. Kyle Mack got a double, and those were the only hits that Vader allowed all game. Would you say that there was work to be done in batting practice this week for Philadelphia, or would you say this was simply a result of Vader's pure dominance?
I'd say it's a mixture of both, but I wouldn't count out Jay possibly moving one of his pitching assets to try and grab some offense later in the season, probably at the deadline.
I agree with you on that one. So let's move on to a couple live games here in the NL. First of all, let's talk about Cardinals-Rockies. You want to talk about offense? We definitely saw it here. Let's start in the bottom of the first inning. Jamison Poe back on the mound for St. Louis after being snubbed for the All-Star game. He's trying to set the record straight that he truly is an All-Star. He'll face Haywood Jablomi, who did make the All-Star team barely as a starting right fielder. And he proved why right here. He smacks a deep home run out to deep center. That one is gone. A 2-run shot to lead off the game for Colorado for Jablomi, making it 2-0 Rockies. Moving to the top half of the next inning, Cody Omega at the plate. He'll smack a home run to deep left. A solo shot for Omega, making it 2-1. However, the Rockies answer right back in the bottom of the frame. Jack Alva at the plate. He'll hit yet another home run. The King of the Diamond, or former King of the Diamonds, will score a home run, making it 3-1 Rockies. Moving to the bottom of the next inning, Jablomi back at the plate. He's ready to make some more noise. He'll smack another home run out to deep right this time. That one is gone. He and Roth will score 5-1 Rockies, your new score. Top of the fourth now. Cardinals facing a 4-run deficit, but that did not scare them at all. Fox Dashington at the plate. He'll get an RBI single that scores Steve Sherwin, 5-2. Later in the inning, Dougal McGoogle at the plate with an out. McGoogle will hit an RBI double out towards center field. Kegs Mabry will score. Fox Dashington scores 5-4 your score. Then Justin Paglia will get up to the plate. He's had a nice day so far. He'll hit a single out to deep left field. That scores Dougal McGoogle. All tied up at 5. Paglia is 2 for 2 on the day after that RBI. And later in the inning, George Ewell back at the plate. The inning's still going. He'll smack a home run deep to center field. That one is gone. Another home run of the year for Ewell. He will score. Paglia scores 7-5, the new score. Later in the inning, Kegs Mabry will step up to the plate. Garrett Evans will toss it, and he will smack that one all the way out to left field. That one is gone, making it 9-5, the Cardinals. And that's where we are right now here in the bottom of the top of the fifth, rather. Jebediah McGuffin is at the plate. He just swung. We're currently waiting on the result in that game. So yeah, this one has been offensive on both sides. You know, Justin Paglia 2 for 2 with a run and an RBI. Dougal McGoogle 2 for 2 with a double and 2 RBIs, and you have Haywood Jablomi on the Colorado side of things, 2 for 2 with the 2 home runs, despite that team being down by 4. Q, what are your initial reactions to the 14 runs we have seen scored here at Coors Field?
Well, I mean, for one, it's obviously Coors, but in a serious note, I mean, Poe's been snubbed. He's been mad about it. That's showing in his pitches. He's getting frustrated, not making the decisions. And then obviously Garrett Evans, first round pick in the expansion draft, first overall pick in the expansion draft. A little bit of a snub, or not a snub, a little bit of a bust. He's not just since coming into the league, he just hasn't been the same that he was in the Goldies Futures game.
I will say that
a little note I'd like.
Keep going.
I believe Jebediah McGuffin, Justin Paglia, and Kegs were all on eco previous sessions, so they went down, polished themselves, got a whole different grasp on how they should swing and whatnot, came back, and they're all doing phenomenal.
Garrett Evans, he's been basically a basket case all year for Colorado after being the number 1 overall selection. He's up there with Con Copper with one of the more ridiculous Caper 6s, despite a over 5 ERA. Do you think that the strikeouts show that he has the stuff at all, or do you think that Evans really has been a lost cause for Colorado and they really need to move into a different role?
I think that Evans definitely has the stuff to obviously get strikeouts when he needs to, but he doesn't have the command that he's going to need or the consistency that he's going to need if he wants to have a shot at getting the Cy Young.
I definitely agree with you on that one. This has definitely been an interesting case here in St. Louis. We'll have to see how it all finishes out in the last inning. Moving on, we have a big battle going on out in the West Coast between the Giants and the Dodgers. This one got started out very quickly in the bottom of the first. Scotty Smalls at the plate facing surprising all-star Andrew Peters. He did sneak in at the last second, and he wants to prove why. He'll throw a fastball right down the middle that Scotty Smalls will get a hold of easily. Knocks it out towards deep center field. That one is gone. Scotty Smalls, a solo shot, making it 1-0 Dodgers to lead off things for LA in the bottom half of the first. We will move now to the top of the fourth. There's not a lot of offense progressed in the next 2 innings as Mike Oxlade will lead off the top of the fourth with the Giants, and he'll smack one out to deep right. That'll tie the things after Oxlade gets a solo shot, making it 1-1. Moving on to the top of the fifth, Minyu Liu at the plate. He'll hit an RBI single out to right field. Hunter 2-0 will score. 2-1 Giants' new score, but that wouldn't be all the offense we see here. Moving on to the bottom of the fifth, Billy Cutgrass at the plate, another all-star. He's out here to prove why he was voted in. He'll smack a home run out to deep center field. That one is gone. 2-2 your current score here in Los Angeles, and that is where we stand right now as we are in extras in the bottom of the 7th inning. We are in extras, I believe. No?
We are in extras. We're top 7. No, bottom 7. Scores 4-2 on a Peacock Andropov home run.
Oh, wow. That is not the... Okay, Johnny Hopkins, update your box score.
Yeah, no, it's because James Anino took over umpiring.
Okay, that would make sense then. So, yep, you heard it here first, folks. 4-2, the current score after a Peacock Andropov home run. We are here in the bottom of the 7th. LA down 2. Valentino Sanchez just live right now at the plate. Let's see what happens.
Actually, no, game's over. Game's over.
Game is over?
Yeah, game's over. Yeah, there's 2. Oh, wait, no.
No. Yeah.
Oh, no, it is bottom 7.
Bottom 7, 1 out now after Valentino Sanchez, just as we're speaking, just flied out to deep left field for 2-0 to catch it at the wall. So now 1 out here in the bottom of the 7th inning. That's going to bring up, I believe, Clippers Charge, who had a decent game last week against Pittsburgh for the Dodgers, leading 3 hits. Charge will come up to the plate now, trying to spark a last-second rally for the Dodgers. Q, as a player in this game, what's been your perspective from the dugout?
I mean, the Dodgers always treat us with nothing but class, even though there's bad blood in the MLB. I've got to shout out to Scotty, obviously. He beat me out in All-Star voting. I wasn't even anywhere near close to making it. But, I mean, he's just showing why he's dominant and why he deserves to be in the All-Star game. I mean, obviously hitting a home run off of another All-Star, Peters, who was not a snub, by the way, at least in my opinion. I mean, you just see 2 amazing NL West teams going at it in this one.
We're going to talk about some of the flaws maybe in All-Star voting a little later in the show, but I think there's a glaring one here when it comes to talking about the Dodgers. Obviously, they are stat crackers. I mean, look at they got 3 All-Stars and an All-Star GM. But at the same time, unless they get a comeback here in the bottom of the 7th, they're going to be 3-6 heading into the All-Star break. And yet, Scotty Smalls, Billy Cutgrass, and Valentino Sanchez are all All-Stars. Valentino Sanchez is an MVP candidate, and Gino Scaramucci is considered one of the top 3 GMs in the NL. Is there some line of thinking I'm missing here, or are we truly, truly overrating the Dodgers in every single way?
I mean, Gino's got to be one of the best GMs out there. I mean, he must have seen the value in Cutgrass, obviously in Scotty, and I mean, Ty James has also been doing all right. I mean, he's not been anywhere near phenomenal, but he's been doing good. Also, fun fact, Gino Scaramucci is also a decent pitcher. He's been doing all right. That is true for the old folks.
That is very, very true. Well, we'll talk more about the Giants throughout the show, but right now, while we're on them, give me your team's outlook. Assuming you pull this off, you'll be 6-3 heading into the break. That's very good as you move into the back nine of the season. What is your team's outlook, in your opinion, heading into the break as we move towards the playoff race?
What we're trying to do is just stay consistent doing all season. We piling up, just striking people out. We're going to try and get antibiotics Mahavapeti, and we're going to try and get them more involved with pitching, obviously, and we're going to see if we can make some moves, make some waves, and get the Giants noticed. Get them on the radar.
Oh, right. If anything develops in this game, we will certainly bring it to you as soon as we can. Let's move on to a game which has seen no offense almost whatsoever. Nationals and Expos, two struggling teams coming into this one, hoping to bounce back and get something going. However, nobody has really gotten anything going whatsoever. Jerome Garcia was facing Cal Tiberius Jr. in this one, and they both have each allowed one hit. Early in the game, Garcia gave up a hit to Y.E. Wally. It was a double. And Cal Tiberius Jr. later in the game gave up a hit to Mr. Mintz Pelling. And that is all the offense we've seen in this game. 0-0 your current score. Washington, nothing. Montreal, nothing. Bottom of the fourth. No walks. I believe each team has allowed one walk. Garcia gave up a walk to Lindbergh to lead off the game. And Tiberius gave up a walk to Henrik Omega. But other than that, this game has seen zero offense. Each team has allowed one hit. And here we are, bottom of the fourth, 0-0. King Fielder at the plate. He has swung. We are waiting on a result from Zoom. Talk about a game of invisibility here. Washington and Montreal. I mean, these are two teams that aren't really on anybody's radar whatsoever. They're under the radar teams by every metric. Nationals aren't very good, and I suppose are that everybody's sleeping on by every metric. And they don't each have one all-star. And this game really has not had much of a splash either. In fact, it very well could be a 1-0 or a 2-0 game when all is said and done. Q, what do you think about this game, the two teams we have sitting here playing in it, or really not playing at all?
Fake baseball has really gone fake. Nothing showing up in the box.
You there? Q?
You can't hear me?
No, I couldn't hear you. Now I can hear you.
I said fake baseball has really gone fake. Nothing's even showing up in the box at this point.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, it's absurd almost. Let me ask you this question. Who do you think will be the first one to break up in the score? What do you think it'll take for one team to really get going or spark something? And who do you think that player is going to be that really is going to light things up?
I got to put my money on the Expos, and I think it's going to be Paulie O'Sullivan. Or I'm not really sure what his name is because the Expos never talk in the Discord. But I, as crazy as this sounds, I trust Cal Tiberius to return to his Cy Young form from last season. And I don't even know who this Garcia guy is. He's not Hudson Hildebrandt, that's for sure.
Well, I will say, we'll talk about some strategies maybe for the Nationals and from a GM perspective later in the show when we touch on this big article that was dropped earlier today. But I will say that the Nationals pitching is definitely interesting. They got four guys. You have Hildebrand at the top of the rotation. You have Garcia, who has a high ERA, but has definitely had some good performances. You have Bedia, who has become kind of a combo guy, getting a lot of time at DH while also being on the mound. And then you also have Will Hatchett, their rookie guy that they've been developing out of the pen, coming in occasionally. We may see him later in this one. Who knows? I haven't heard from Mick about what they're going to be doing with him. But they have an interesting set of four guys that if they work together, they can really develop something. So do you think the issue really lies in those four guys, or do you think that this offense really needs to find itself and get working?
I think it's a mixture of both. I think Osmosis Jones needs to step up. I mean, he's obviously currently in Eco, but I believe with his veteran leadership, I think the Nationals could really benefit from that.
All right. As I said a minute ago, King Fielder's swing is in, so we are waiting on Zoom to get that result in. As soon as we get it, He'll bring it to you live here on MLR Tonight. One more National League game to get to here, Brewers and Padres. We've seen the Brewers dominate teams before, and yet here they are again, back up to their old antics. Let's start at the top of the second. Padres once again going with Lim Tensicum on the mound. Tensicum trying to prove that the Padres are not dead in the water heading into the All-Star break. I am Organic at the plate. He'll smack a home run out to deep left field. That one is gone. A 3-run shot for Organic. Hitchens will score. Jackman will score. 3-0 Brewers to lead things off here. Moving now to the top of the fourth inning. Brewers once again at the plate still. With Tensicum on the mound. Scottish Twiggy at the plate with the bases loaded. That one is high, deep, and gone to deep left field. Bernie Brewer sliding on the slide. A grand slam. Actually, sorry, never mind. We're at Petco. Grand slam for Scottish Twiggy. Bajingo scores. Organic scores. Squire scores. 7-0 Brewers. That is your current score. We are still in the top of the fourth. I believe Preller is currently on the field making some massive switches. Caleb Athan, I believe, is now going to be a position player pitching here for the Padres in an odd set of circumstances. I think Sylvester Cinnamon is on the disabled list this week. So Caleb Athan is currently going to be pitching on the mound for whoever is going to be at bat whenever Athan's pitch comes in. I think we're waiting again on Zoom to do something with that game. Yeah, all Brewers. Once again, we saw this happen when they played the Rockies at Coors. Here they are again, back up to their old antics. This is the Brewers we knew and loved back in the middle sessions of the first half of the season. Do you think this is a return to form for the Brewers? Maybe it wasn't. It was because they were relying on your zone too much. What do you think it is now that's got the Brewers dominating here at Petco?
Well, I mean, you really got to point out that they really do not. I mean, even though the Padres' offense is near non-existent, they don't need to rely on Dan Garzone to bail them out of situations where they're against high-power offenses like, say, the Pittsburghs, teams like that. And, I mean, really, it's just Smegma's doing a good job up the leadoff in, like, 438. You've got James Earl Pones, who's hitting 240. He's not having a great game, but that's outside of this. They've got a 3-headed monster, I believe, at catcher. And just having that kind of versatility out there on the field is just way too valuable, and you can't ignore that.
What is it going to be for the Padres that finally will get their spark going? Again, at this pace, unless barring a miracle, barring a rabbit out of the hat for AJ Preller, they're going to be 3-6 going into the All-Star break. Inconsistency completely for the mound. Grimes has really lost his touch. Tensicum hasn't really found anything. You know, Dickerson had a decent game here, going 1 for 1 on the base twice, considering he had also a walk. But nobody else really. In fact, he's the only Padres player with a hit this game. Swanson, through 3 innings pitched thus far, has only 1 hit allowed. I mean, what's it going to take for the Padres to really get themselves going? I mean, Oasted has been struggling. Stewart doesn't have a hit yet on the year. Yancey's cold. Nippon Steer's ice. Dickerson's okay. Forehead Jones, his average has been dropping. He's not the same power hitter he was. What do the Padres need to finally start winning games, Q?
It's a question, really, at this point. Is it worth it to just put Dickerson and Forehead Jones up at the top 2 spots of the order and just let them try and be your offense? Try and get them as many plate appearances as they can. I mean, clearly nothing else is coming out of the other 7 people in the lineup.
At a certain point, I think Jack Bing is going to touch on this with many teams. He didn't touch on it with the Padres. At a certain point, you know, we have a deadline coming up in 5 sessions, believe it or not, to get trades in. Is there a certain point where AJ Preller should maybe throw his hands up and kind of blow up the ship and see if he can acquire some maybe draft pieces or positions to potentially save up for next season? Or do you think he should still have faith in his team and try to go for broke and see what he can do in the last 9 games of the season?
Not to spoil anything that we're going to speak on later in the show, I think that I really like the idea of the Padres picking up Einhorn if Einhorn ever gets fixed. I like positions with them because I think Einhorn offers some veteran leadership, and I think that maybe Arizona could use someone like a Forehead Jones or a Cannonball Dickerson that could put some spark into their offense.
That is true. That is very true. We'll touch on all of that a little later in the show. Let's take a brief look once again at the National League scores we've talked about so far. Pirates on top of the Phillies 3-0. That is the final score. Cardinals currently on top of the Rockies 9-5. Giants beating the Dodgers 4-2 in the bottom of the 7th. Nationals and Expos still scoreless, and Brewers walloping the Padres 7-0. Q, let me get your opinion. Out of these 5 games, which of these 5 games do you think will have the most impact as we get towards these playoff races? Which do you think will have the most long-term impact on Season 2?
I gotta say Expos Nationals, because if the Expos are currently tied for the lead in the NL East, if the Expos really can't score on a team like the Nationals, that's just going to prove to at least me that they don't really deserve to be in the playoffs and that they should be easily knocked out come fake October.
I'm going to have to say I think it's Cardinals-Rockies. I think both of these teams are really starting to figure things out and vie for these playoff spots. I think Cardinals are trying to hang on to their last thread. I think they've got what it takes to go out and get that spot, but I don't know if they're really going to be able to hang on. I think this is going to be a key win in getting there. Meanwhile, I think the Rockies really had it figured out and really were going to make a charge in the NL West, but I think this game is really going to put them back, and when push comes to shove, come session 18, this game may be what holds them back from getting there. So I guess we'll have to see in due time. All right, let's move on to the American League, and boy, have we had some fun games that have already wrapped up. Let's start with the pretty much unanimous game of the week, Cleveland and Toronto. We knew from the get-go this was going to be a fun one considering Cleveland's activity and Toronto's star power, and it certainly was that. Let's start out early in the top of the first. Dick Pole at the plate. He has had quite a few good games here in the last couple of sessions since being acquired by the Indians from the Phillies. He will keep it going here in the top of the first. He'll smack a double out towards deep center field. That'll score Frank Sinatra, who also had a good game this week. Cleveland takes an early 1-0 lead. Moving to the bottom of the second, Mike Honcho at the plate. You know, Toronto has some good infielders, but Honcho is one of the ones that really gets buried under the rug. He shows that he is here to play. He'll smack a home run out to deep center field. That one is gone. His third home run of the year. That will tie the game at 1. Moving on to the top of the fourth, Dick Pole back at the plate. He'll do what he's been doing the last couple of games, and he'll do it again. Deep home run out to left field. That one is gone. A solo shot for Dick Pole. 2 for 2 on the day. Another scoring play for Mr. Pole. 2-1, the new Indians lead. Later in the top of the fifth, Stig Bond back at the plate. He was named the Indians representative for the All-Star game since the Indians did not get a player voted in. He'll hit a home run to deep right field, a solo shot. That one is gone. 3-1, Indians your new score. However, the Toronto Blue Jays would not stop as they had a push for the win in the bottom of the fifth. Ziggy Cedar, phenomenal game last week. He'll get an RBI double that scores Quentin Adams to bring the lead to just 1. However, that is where the comeback would stop as Tommy Fox, a big tuna, will shut the door out of the pen for the Indians, and that will do it for the Blue Jays in this one. Indians will win this one 3-2. Winning pitcher will be Tommy Foxconn, who advances to 3-0, has a 2.40 ERA. Potentially a sleeper for the a snub for the All-Star game, rather. Foxconn's had a great start, a little bit of a late one, but a great start here for the Indians. Tuna, of course, with the save, his first of the year. Sardinka will pick up the loss, will move to 2-3 on the year, despite his nice 3.00 ERA. Dick Pole as one player of the game, going 2 for 2 with a home run and RBI double. Q, what do you think about this game? And both teams, of course, now at 6-3. What do you think about this matchup here between the Indians and the Blue Jays?
This game definitely was all about proving things. I mean, obviously for the Indians, they're still trying to prove themselves. BB is trying to prove himself that every single move that he made was for, by and large, the benefit of the entire Cleveland Indians franchise. And clearly it's showing here. They're beating arguably one of the better pitchers in the MLR in Sardinka. And for Toronto, this is really proving, okay, do we need to maybe move one of our star infielders to get some help in the outfield, maybe upgrade marginally, become more balanced, or get some help in the pitching staff for Sardinka, who's clearly not able to shut down top offenses like the Cleveland.
If you're Cleveland, obviously we've talked about looking to get a face for the Indians. That's been their struggle. They haven't had a lot of chemistry with the rotating players and whatnot. Tommy Foxconn, as we talked about, has been really incredible since he's moved into the starter role. Is he the face? Is he what they need? Is he the guy that needs to be in the limelight for the Indians if they're really going to make a push towards winning the AL East.
I believe so. I think he's got to step up. I think he's got to become really a leader for this team, be more vocal, get everyone going.
As we discussed, both teams now 6-3, both really good starts to the year, hoping to carry that forward and really get into a tough battle to win the AL East. Speaking of another 6-3 team, the Boston Red Sox had quite the session this week, playing home to the Rangers, their first home game since the Mort Seafel no-hitter back in Session 5. Their 3-game road streak came to an end with them going 3-0. They'll return home into Fenway in this game to face the Texas Rangers. This one definitely was an offensive showcase from all ends. We'll start here in the bottom of the first inning with Larry Longshot at the plate. He had a great game last week. He'd like to keep it up here. He'll smack a home run out to deep right field. That one is gone. A solo shot for Longshot. That is 1-0 Boston to lead things off in the bottom of the first. Later in the inning, Michael Voorhees at the plate. He's looking to keep things up and prove that he was a little bit of a snub for the All-Star game. He'll hit a single out towards center field. Rusty Shackelford will come in and score. 2-0 Red Sox, your new score. Later in the inning, Jay Money at the plate. He'll hit a line drive to right field. That one will drop for a single. It'll score Ravitsu Sorimubuto. 3-0 Red Sox, your new score. Moving to the bottom of the second, Chuck McCluster at the plate. He will ground out to J.H. Morello. Morello will throw the ball to the first baseman, Dallas Houston, but that will not stop J&B from scoring. The RBI ground out will allow a 4-0 lead for the Red Sox. The lead would keep growing later in the inning with Rusty Shackelford at the plate. He'll home run a fly ball to left field. That one is gone. His 4th home run of the year. Ben Beazle will come across and score as well. 6-0, the current Red Sox score. However, the Rangers were not going to sit down and die. In the top of the third, Joe Trundle, talk about all-star snubs. Trundle hits a deep fly ball to center field. That one is gone. Joe Random will score, Summer will score, and Trundle scores. 3-0 Red Sox, your new score. However, bottom of the fifth, the Red Sox were not done scoring. Ripken out Halladay will ground into a double play, but it will allow Voorhees to slide in from third. 7-3 is your new score. The Rangers were not done yet. Top of the sixth, Dixie Wrecked at the plate. He's had an okay year, looking to get things a little more speeded up. He'll single on a line drive to right field. Joe Trundle will come across the score. 7-4 Red Sox your score. Top of the sixth, later in the inning, Duke McCracken will single on a ground ball to center field. Dallas Houston will come across and score, cutting the lead to 2. With Barge struggling in relief, however, he will close the door on the Rangers. Final score in this one, 7 Red Sox, 5 Rangers. 9-8, the Red Sox will out hit the Rangers. Mo Lester will get the win in his first career start, going 5 1/3 innings with 4 hits, 3 earned runs, a walk, and 7 strikeouts. Three Finger will take the loss, his 5th on the year, believe it or not. And player of the game goes to Mr. Rusty Shackelford, who had a dominating game offensively, 3 for 3, a home run, 2 runs, and 2 RBIs. Not to toot our own horn here, but we're the only 5-game winning streak currently in the MLR, and we're looking to make it 6 next week against the Brewers. Q, what do you think about our dominance?
This game's huge for Mo Lester. I mean, he's definitely faced a lot of – he's had to fill big shoes since he came in. I mean, being the whole, oh, you got to be the next Moritz Stiefel. Oh, you got to throw a perfect game. You really can't value enough what he did in this game to shut down arguably one of the best hitters in Barney Summers, albeit giving up the game that he did to Joey Trundle. But to shut down someone like Barney Summers, who is now only hitting 667, I mean, it's invaluable. And then with Texas's side, it's a question of we need to get pitching help for Three Finger. Who can we get? Who can we move? Do we move Summers and do we move Summers or Trundle and try to tank this season?
Do you think the Red Sox need to make any moves here, or do you think that the group they have assembled, they've got a group of about 17 guys after Medora was cut this session for inactivity? They're going to roll with 17 guys after the All-Star break. Do you think that this group is what they need to stick with, or do you think there's any sort of change they need to make whatsoever if they're really going to compete with Toronto and Cleveland and Tampa Bay to get that AL East division win?
I think they need to definitely shore up their pitching a little bit. I mean, albeit to the Texas offense, 5 runs given up is not a good look whatsoever. But other than that, I think they're in a good spot for the most part.
All right. Of course, the Red Sox will have a tough task as soon as they get back from the All-Star break. They will have to face the Brewers in Miller Park and face Danger Zone, who definitely will have a fun week this next week. Hopefully he'll continue. Maybe he'll continue it against the Red Sox, or maybe the Red Sox offense will prevail. We'll have to see, considering everybody but yours truly will get a week off, considering nobody from the Red Sox has voted into the All-Star game. Very surprising. Moving on to our next contest. Let me pull up the slide here. Twins and Astros. This one had a little bit of offense, but not a whole lot to show for it because of some dominating pitching from Burr and Copper. But we will tell you about a little bit that happened. Starting at the bottom of the first for the Astros to the plate, Burr on the mound. Rouse McGiles at the plate. He'll hit a sac fly towards center field. Heat Wheeler will be there to catch it, but that'll allow Bear Thomas to score in from third, making it 1-0 Houston to start out this one. Moving to the top of the third, Daz Reference at the plate. He'll smack a deep home run out to center field. That one is gone. He will score, so will Spike Suzuki, making it 2-1 Twins. However, the Houston Astros were not dead in the water yet. Bottom of the frame, Kev Ariana at the plate, the host of the earlier session of MLR Tonight. He smacked a home run to deep right field. That one is gone. A 3-run blast for the new Astro, making it 4-2 Houston, and that would be the final score. Tim Burr, a little bit of a struggle this session as his final game before getting the start next week in the All-Star game. 4 innings pitched, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, and 3 Ks. Going up against Con Copper, who got the win this week, who had a great game, really. 6 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 5 hits, and 6 Ks, keeping up his high strikeout numbers. Of course, the offensive player of the game was none other than Kev Ariana, who went 2 for 3 with a single, home run, and 3 RBIs. Q, what do you think about this matchup and the way Houston really kind of handled the Twins, who quickly picked up another loss?
Yeah, I think the move here for both squads is to really help their pitchers out. I mean, Con Copper's obviously, dude's striking out about 6 per game, but his runs per 6 is up to about 5. I mean, you can't be having that going into the playoffs. And I honestly think getting someone, maybe them acquiring Urich and having him start and having Copper come in for the 5th and 6th, I think that could really work out well. And then with Minnesota, the question is, do you move on a Daz Reference? Do you move on a Johnny Hopkins to get someone to help out Tim Burr? Because Tim Burr gave up 7 hits this game in 4 innings. His runs per 6 is only just under 2, but you can't be having that many hits because that's just that causes stress. Stress can make for bad pitches. It's just not a good look for them.
Well, I will say the Twins do have a little bit of depth on the mound. Obviously, they have Ricky Steele, but he's been a little consistent at the pen. Of course, they have Daniel Collins, but he has not had the best start to his career after being touted as probably the best prospect this year. But the Twins are now 5-4, so they're not in the worst of situations. They can come back. Astros are also 5-4. They're on the rise after taking a beating by Boston and then by Seattle, was it? Or no, they beat Seattle. They struggled back in the middle of the first half, and now they've kind of come alive here. Both teams 5-4, looking to dominate the AL West. But as it stands now, there really isn't a clear-cut favorite in that division. What is it all pitching for these teams? I mean, is that what it's going to take to really win this entire division?
I mean, your team really begins from the ground up with pitching. I mean, you live and die by whoever goes out there pitching 90 miles an hour for you.
That is very, very true. Very profound. I like it. Yep, that will do our talking for that game. Of course, both teams looking to rise up and continue their winning ways and keep their winning record alive as we move into the second half of the year. Let's talk about our 3 live games featuring AL action. Tigers and Devil Rays. This one has had a little bit of a slow pace to it, which is unusual for Tampa Bay, but nonetheless, we are playing along here at Sierra Memorial Stadium. Let's start out the action at the top of the first. Otis Nixon Sr. at the plate, trying to spark something for a nearly dead Tigers offense all year. Ed Turner on the mound, looking to prove that he truly is an all-star no matter what the GMs say. Top of the first, Otis Nixon Sr. smacks the deep home run to left field. That one is gone. Solo shot for Nixon. 1-0 Tigers early. However, the Devil Rays would answer right back. Fuzzy Dunlop at the plate. He'll smack a double to left center field. Grim Karp will come around and score the RBI double by Dunlop. Will tie the game for the Devil Rays. Later in the inning, Connor Sexton, the rookie, in his first career game, will hit a double out to right field. That scores Fuzzy. 2-1, the new score with the Devil Rays on top. Kenneth Moore at the plate later in the frame. He'll smack his first career home run at the deep center field. That scores Sexton and himself. 4-1 Double Rays, the new score. Haven't had any offense since then, or really any hits whatsoever, but each team tied up at 6 hits, despite a 4-1 Double Rays lead. Ed Turner's had a pretty good game so far. 4 innings pitched, 6 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 5 Ks. We currently sit in the top of the 5th inning, my bad, with Mr. Rex Snare at the plate. I don't think we've had any runs scored, despite a pretty long inning so far for the Tigers. I'm not certain if... Yeah, we're going to the bottom of the 4th right now. My apologies, I was reading the score wrong. I'm not sure who's going to be due up for the Devil Rays. I believe it... Oh, sorry, it's going to be Smorin. Okay, and Masters is still pitching for the Tigers. What do you think about this one, Q? Rays finally going to get another win. They'll also be in the 6-3 category. Pretty competitive AL East division we got going here, but Tigers look likely to fall to 2-7 once this one is all said and done. What do you think about the matchup here?
Tigers need more production out of Triple J. I mean, that's the easiest way to put it. I mean, they need help everywhere. Would it make sense for them to start tanking, start just giving up this season, being like, all right, let's see what we can get in the expansion draft? But the Devil Rays, I mean, what the hell is Dominus Nominus doing? That's a good question. And then it's just consistency with their batting order. I mean, obviously JD De Las Rosas and Grim Carper always get up at the top. Isaac Saffron has been doing all right. Fuzzy Dunlop is a little bit questionable in the 4th spot, but I mean, Colin Sexton's doing well. Moore is doing all right, but their pitching, I think, is maybe pick up another guy in free agency, see if they can make an acquisition there. Maybe get Einhorn. Who knows what can happen in that situation? Maybe they can fix Einhorn. But I think the Rays are in a very good position right now.
You talked about the Tigers tanking and maybe moving some pieces to work towards the expansion draft, but here's my question. Who do they have to move? I mean, they have Durant, his all-star. He's put up some good numbers hitting 500. But other than that, John Johnson Jr. is not really an admirable asset. This is his first hit of the year, by the way, just putting that out there. Nixon, despite going 2 for 2, is hitting 143 on the season. Packer Jacker doesn't have a hit in the year yet. Hans Ali, the rookie, hasn't shown anything yet. Mason Spurs has been struggling. Snare's been struggling since being acquired. Masters and Woolridge have ERAs up the wazoo. I don't really see any piece that Detroit has that's really going to appeal to any team. I mean, maybe Durant gets moved. Maybe there's a team that needs that corner outfielder. Maybe Washington, for example, looking to maybe add some depth behind Pelling or Omega or somebody out there. Maybe Tampa Bay wants to get some corner outfielder. Maybe somebody to replace Nominus out there. You know, there are some teams that may be in the market for a guy like Durant. But other than that, can you think of a guy that a team would want to go out and acquire to add and help their team from Detroit? Because I really don't think Zoom has any players that are going to be worthwhile in the league right now.
I mean, maybe he would finish. Maybe he would make a move by just trading everyone he can for like Reddit-only guys or career bad guys and just trying to pile up as many picks as he can and take whoever's consensus best available.
I agree with that, but my thing is, like, if I'm the GM of Minnesota, if I'm Charlie Scott and I'm trying to get my team set up for the All-Star game, and I have Zoom shuffling over Durant and Johnson Jr. and Nixon for just a ton of picks, in my opinion, do I really see the value in those guys? Maybe Washington wants to cough up. Maybe they're trying to get out of the race. Maybe they're trying to cough up Jones and Hildebrandt. Maybe I have Baltimore trying to cough up Meerkat or Rob Pancakes or Petrol or another guy or Falk or somebody that really has value. In my opinion, if I'm looking to tank and get out of the race, or I'm looking to buy off somebody who's trying to sell players, is Detroit the team that I'm going to go to? No, and that's not really Zoom's fault. He's a great GM, but I think he just kind of hasn't really found anything but crap this season. Honestly, he's going to fall to 2-7, and things are not looking great for Detroit. I mean, do they need to acquire a piece? Is that what they need, or is it just game over for them and they just got to hope and pray and get lucky?
I think it's either that, or I could see them trying to do. I could see them attempting to do what Cleveland did. I'm not sure if they'll have the same level of success, but I could see them trying that because I know Zoom is definitely open to major moves.
That is very true. We'll have to see what becomes of the Detroit Tigers as the season rolls along. A couple more games here to talk about. Baltimore and Seattle. This one has definitely been a game of two struggling teams looking to get off the ground and rolling as we move into the second half of the year. Starting at the bottom of the first, Pudiego at the plate. He's had an okay year looking to get his numbers back to where they were last year. Meanwhile, Rob Pancakes on the mound for the O's. Starting here at the bottom of the first, Diego hits a home run at the deep right field, a 3-run blast for the Mariners first baseman, making it 3-0 as Ripley and Kadobi will also score runs. Moving out to the top of the third, Whit Murdo at the plate. He'll ground out towards the third base, but that will still allow Meerkat Timmons to avoid the tag and slided safely to score, making it 3-1. The Mariners still leading. Moving to the bottom of the third now, the Mariners wanted to tack on a little more. S.M. Brody at the plate. He will smack one on the ground towards second base to ground out. However, Pudiego will come in the score. 4-1, your Mariners lead, and that's where it currently stands right now. I believe in the bottom of the fifth, my bad. The box score has literally been dead the entire game. But as it stands now, unless something major has changed, bottom of the fifth, 2 away, S.M. Brody at the plate, and should still be a 4-1 Mariners lead. If that's not correct, somebody please ping me right now. But yeah, what do you think about this matchup and the way that Ziff has kind of been really good? 4 innings pitched, 5 hits, an earned run, a walk, and 3 Ks. Pancakes has been a little cold. What do you think about this matchup?
I mean, the Orioles aren't really doing much. I think their obvious move here is to just get Meerkat to somewhere where he can produce. I mean, I love the guy as part of the OTC, but I think he needs to be moved to somewhere where he'll have a chance to win a ring or a paper cup, paper ring, PVC ring, whatever's going to happen. I think that would just be logical at this point.
Seattle. They're really starting, again, we've been talking nonstop about how the offense is great in Seattle, but the pitching has not really been there to back it up. You know, Walker has been kind of shaky despite winning player of the session back in session 4 against guess who? Boston. But Ziff really had a good game here for Baltimore, and he's really looking to finish it out strong. Could this be the game that Seattle needs to get off the ground running? Obviously, if they pull this off, they'll be 4-5. Obviously, could be better, but they're working on getting back to where they want to be and making a push for the playoffs. Baltimore, of course, has a lot to figure out, but if you're Seattle, if you're Regan, you got to be pretty happy with what you saw here in this game, right?
I mean, clearly. I mean, you have obviously Lee Allen Ripley at the top of the order. He's always good for a hit or two each game. Rex Kadobi's been doing very well. Dill Pickle's always been doing good. And Artie Ziff put out a surprisingly good outing so far. I mean, he's given up 5 hits, but he's only given up 1 earned. And he's got 3 strikeouts and only 1 walk. I mean, that's always good to see. I mean, it's better than something that we'd see out of Lim Tinsicum.
That is very, very true. All right, if anything develops, this game, of course, is still live. So we talked about bottom 5. If anything develops here, we will let you know live here on MLR Tonight. Of course, we are 45 minutes into our third hour of showing here. We will take you until 10 o'clock Eastern Time live here on MLR Tonight. Let's move into our final game, our interleague matchup between the D's and the A's. Talk about offense. My Lord. Sid Kidd and Sal Shark went head-to-head in this one, and 2 pitchers we didn't expect to give up a whole lot of runs, but that our expectations were definitely nullified. Starting here in the top of the first, Dominic Vielbaum at the plate. He's been cold to start his career for Arizona. He's looking to blow up here, and he, well, quite literally does in his first at-bat. Bases loaded, nobody out. Boom! Deep left field. That one is high, deep, and gone. Dominic Vielbaum, a grand slam, a papa slam here for the Diamondbacks to lead off the top of the first. 4-0 early here for the Diamondbacks. No offense for the next couple innings. We move now to the top of the third. Monster Mash at the plate. Still looking for his first career hit of the year, and bam, there it is. A single to left field. Thomas Chicken scores an RBI single for Monster Mash. 5-0 Diamondbacks. The streak is over. Moving on, top of the third, Assassin Panda at the plate. He'll let a sacrifice fly to deep left field that scores Dominic Vielbaum, 6-0 Diamondbacks. Later in the inning, Dom Stakes at the plate. He'll let a single to center field. A.Z. Chapman will score, 7-0 D-backs. Again in the inning, Garen Smudge at the plate, the all-star starting catcher for the National League. He'll hit an RBI double that scores both Monster Mash and Stakes, 9-0 Diamondbacks as we lead the third inning. However, the A's were not dead in the water. Bottom of the third, Graham Autry at the plate. He'll hit a solo home run to left field, his third of the year, making it 9-1 Diamondbacks. Kid Notcher, but maybe an all-star snub. He wants to show he's alive. He'll hit a home run to right field. That's a grand slam for Notcher. Doug Nutdingers and Southwell also score. 9-5 the new score. Later in the inning, Graham Autry back at the plate. He'll do it again. Another home run to left field. Solo shot. 9-6 the current score for the D-backs. However, top of the fifth, the D-backs were not done. Assassin Panda hits another home run out to left field. That also scored him in MASH. 11-6 the score for the Diamondbacks, and that's where it stands right now in the bottom of the sixth. The A's are on their last out. Justin Dingers just flew out a couple hours ago. We were waiting on a pitch from Einhorn, who's in relief, and I believe who's going to be Brian Southwell will be swinging for the Oakland Athletics. Q, what do you think about this 17-run affair we have at O.Co Coliseum? Q, you there?
I think, yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
For Arizona, they just need pitching. I mean, fix Einhorn, have Sid Kidd not give up as many runs. I mean, Sid Kidd, I definitely know from umping him, he has the potential to just be a shutdown pitcher. He just needs to realize it more often. And obviously, Einhorn needs to be basically rebuilt from the ground up. And then Athletics, it's the same thing. Get some offensive help as well and help out South Shark. Just, it's all about pitching in this game.
Many a commentator, including myself, has been tapped Oakland like the resurgence was happening. They started out 0-4, then they won 4 straight. They were going for 5 in a row, but that pending the 2-out rally of the century, that's not going to happen here for the A's. They're going to fall to 4-5 going into the break. Is this a morale breaker for Oakland? Is this going to shut them down, or do you think Oakland can pick up their slack and keep going after the break when they hit the road and play Detroit?
Oakland hasn't been the same since last season. I honestly think they've lost too much. They haven't been the same. I think Rick Gymnast needs to get in there and find a leader. Maybe Bodie Boatface would be the leader they need. Maybe Justin Dingers. They need someone to step up in that clubhouse, whether it's Rick Gymnast or one of their players. They need someone to step up in there and just tell them exactly how everything needs to go.
Well, let me offer my opinion here, because I think the issue isn't that they have a leader. I think that Caleb Van Vactor and Max Wasson are two of the biggest leaders of any clubhouse in the league. And I think they're pretty substantial leaders both on and off the field. The problem is neither of them have been doing anything on the field all year. And it's really starting to hurt Oakland, especially in this game. Wasson, well, he did go 2 for 3. Wasson had a good outing. But Van Vactor was put on the bench because of how much he's been struggling. He had a decent game a couple of sessions ago when I umped him against Texas. But heading into the session, let me pull up the official stats here, and I can tell you some numbers. Wasson was hitting 105 on the year. He was 2 for 19. That's obviously going to go up a little bit, but very ice cold. Van Vactor, of course, who was an all-star, an MVP candidate last year. He was 3 for 18 to start the year, hitting 167, 211 on base percentage. Max Wasson has a 150 on base percentage. Both of them combined have 3 extra base hits all year. And they had 5 hits total going into this season, this session, despite combined 14 strikeouts. So, in my opinion, would you agree that there's leadership signs here? And you brought up McBoatface too, and some other guys that have shown, and Sal Shark, for crying out loud, Cy Young winner. But their leadership's here. The problem is, in my opinion, the leadership just hasn't done anything on the field. Off the field, I'm sure they're doing great and continuing to lead, but just on the field, they haven't really led anyone. I mean, are you calling for a change in leadership, Q, or do you think that the real leaders just really need to come out and shine, and that's what it's going to be for Oakland?
I think Sal Shark needs to come out and silence all the haters, silence everyone who's really thought, oh, he's the reason the Athletics aren't really a force in this league. I think South Shark needs to come out, maybe throw a shutout. I think that would be the way that would silence everyone.
That will end our live game discussion here, although we will have one quick game update here back out in Colorado? Yeah, that's correct. Jebediah McGuffin will fly out to center field. I'm not certain. I think that's the first out of the inning. Yep, that is the... Oh, hold on. I'll tell you. Yep, that was the first out of the inning, despite the home runs from back-to-back home runs from Sherwood and Mabry. So 9-5 Cardinals. One out here in the top of the 5th inning. Again, if anything develops in any of these games, we will let you know as soon as that comes. Here we go. S.M. Brody just put in his swing in Seattle. We are waiting on a result now from the Ham-Solbrook crew, Preller, and I think FICO. All right. So we have some interesting discussion points to get to in this episode of MLR Tonight. First of all, let's talk some All-Star Game stuff. On your screen now, for those of you watching at home, we have the list of both All-Star starting lineups going catcher, first base, second base, third base, shortstop, the 3 outfield spots, DH, and starting pitcher. We are going to analyze the matchup by matchup and tell you who we think wins each individual matchup and help you maybe have a mental picture of who you think is going to win the All-Star Game. So, let's start here at catcher. Garen Smudge will be getting the start for the NL All-Star team, facing Tampa Bay's Grim Karp with his robot arm starting for the AL side. Q, I'll start with you. Who do you think is the better player and would win this matchup head-to-head, Smudge or Karp?
I think the obvious answer here is Karp. I think Smudge, really, honestly. No foul, no harm to him. I don't think he deserved to be in. Honestly, I thought Andropov or at least Garrett Doctor deserved to be in over him. I mean, plus with everything that Karp has compiled over this first half of the season, I think you got to go with him.
I totally agree with you. I think Karp, despite the fact that I would agree with the argument that he is not the best catcher in the AL, I think he is still far superior to Garen Smudge. I think the tight race in the NL was just a little too tight, and I think Smudge skirting through on the split vote really doesn't give him any credit. Obviously, he has a couple home runs this year that's really good, and I think Smudge is a great player, but I think he's a shell of himself in comparison to a guy like Grim Card, who's truly dominated. Let's move on to first base. This is an interesting one. Forehead Jones for the National League against Houston's Dakota, Carolina, Montana. Both have had incredible years. Forehead Jones with his power and Montana with his contact. But who do you think is the better overall player in terms of all-star productivity, Q?
I think what Forehead Jones has done for San Diego in terms of keeping them in games more than Dakota, Carolina, Montana has been for Houston. I mean, Houston, you've got Peter Peckershine down there. Who else from San Diego made the All-Star game? That's right, nobody. I mean, you got to give it to him. He's been basically carrying his team.
I'm going to disagree. I think Montana is far and away, in my opinion, the best contact hitter in the AL. I mean, Summers has some power mixed in, but I think Montana's contact is through the roof, and I think that's been a key reason why Houston has going to be a 500 record going into the All-Star break now. Obviously, Peckershine being brought into the picture in that trade with Tampa Bay really helped them out, but I think Montana has been the key reason why they are as good as they are. I think they've had a lot of other good surrounding ensemble members, but I think Montana is the face of that team, and I think, his recent appearance on MLR Tonight, on Fireside Chat, rather, and all his other recent press affairs are really helping him solidify as a true all-star, in my opinion. I think Montana is deserved, and I think he's going to outshine Forehead Jones in every way next week of the All-Star game. Let's move on to second base. Two kind of surprises in this All-Star game here at second base. Zach Benz for the Montreal Expos and JD De Los Rosas, a guy who many people should not be the starter at second base for the Double Rays, starting for the AL. Who do you think is the better player here, Benz or JD DLR?
You can't underrate power. I mean, plus with Montreal's struggle. I mean, I'd like to think of it as JD De Los Rosas being just another part in the whole gear of the big Tampa Bay machine. And what Zach Benz has done for Montreal has been just so useful for them. And ever since he debuted, I mean, he's just been a force to be reckoned with in this league.
This is a very, very tough one because, in my opinion, I don't think either one really deserves their spot in the All-Star game.
It's a tough one.
I completely agree. I think I'm going to side with JD here solely because, in my opinion, I think the team as a whole in Tampa Bay is better than Montreal. I think they both probably contributed equally to their team, and I really don't think they've contributed enough to be an All-Star, especially a starter nonetheless. But I think because of what Tampa Bay has done as a team, and I think JD is, as someone who's been in that clubhouse previously, I can tell you that JD is definitely a leader in that room, and I think that JD, as a clubhouse leader, deserves what he's accomplished more than Ben's, and I think JD will prove that leadership in the All-Star game next week. Moving on to third base, this is a battle of contact versus power, and most certainly, Valentino Sanchez for the Dodger and the 5 home runs he has, that raw power out in LA, going against the AL's Finn Jorgensen, the Scandinavian, whatever you want to call him. I'm just going to call him Mr. Scandinavia, playing in Toronto with his ridiculously high batting average. It landed him the third base starting spot for the American League. Q, who do you think is the better player, Sanchez or Jorgensen?
I'm a contact hitter. I got to go with Jorgensen here. I mean, just being able to get on base as frequently as he does, that just with the rest of the infield that Toronto has, you can't. Him being able to get on base for someone like a Strident, Lane Drew, or someone Mike Honcho, anyone else in that Toronto infield, him being able to get on base for them to drive him, that's their offense. Simple as that.
I'm going to have to disagree with you. I think Sanchez, he has a little bit of contact. He's hitting 450, but has a slugging version who's through the roof. But I think that what Sanchez has done for LA this year, despite the low record in LA, is beyond anything anybody can. Not even Forehead Jones can compare to this power. 5 home runs, 12 RBIs, 1.350 slugging. What's his OPS? It doesn't even here. It's not even here, but it's absurd. Like, I can't even fathom how powerful Sanchez has been in the National League. If he's not the front runner for MVP right now in the NL, I'll be stunned. In my opinion, Sanchez is a beast of a player, and he deserves all the accolades, and I think he is going to show his beastiness against Mr. Jorgensen. Now, that does not discredit the season that Jorgensen's had. In fact, I think he's been a key reason, if not the reason, why Toronto has been as good as they've been. But in my opinion, I think Sanchez is the better player. Moving on to shortstop, Pittsburgh's Lance Lumix will go head-to-head against Seattle's Durgish O'Leary. Who do you think is the better player here?
I've never heard of Lance Lumix.
What? Are you kidding?
I've literally...
Hold on. Let me just read you these stats before you make an analysis on Durgish. Lance Lumix this year, 11 for 26, 423 batting average, 423 on base. Still has no walks in the year, which is kind of surprising. 923 slugging, 2 home runs, 5 doubles, a triple, 7 runs, 13 RBIs. He is the NL leader in RBIs despite 8 strikeouts. And he is, as Pops and Diligent Move have stated, he is currently the leader in the Pirates clubhouse, not Gare. Lance is the leader in that clubhouse. Continue.
All right. Well, now that I'm fighting, I do have to say that, I mean, one could if they were that strong-headed, they could argue that in Pittsburgh, Lance does have more protection, but Durgish O'Leary, you can't discount what he's given to his offense, but I do have to give this one to Lance.
Yeah, like I said, like we talked about earlier in Seattle, the offense is there, the pieces are there, but the puzzle, in my opinion, still has not come together yet, and until it does, I can't really give a whole lot of credit to a guy like O'Leary. Despite the season that he has had, hitting 467, I think all power to him. I think there were some other players in Seattle that were robbed. I think Ripley is a better third baseman, but I just don't think he's gotten enough credibility to show for it. I think Rex Kadobe is the best right fielder in the league. I think he's better than McBaseballface, and I think he's better than Durat. But in my opinion, I think Lumix beats O'Leary here. I think the Lumix has truly been the face of Pittsburgh all year and has led them to the current 6-3 record they have. You can't discount 13 RBIs. That's incredible production. Not even Emmerbach has had that on the same team. Lance Lumix, in my opinion, takes the easy victory here. Moving forward, let's move on to left field. So I don't have the outfield matchups 100% certain, but based on positions, this is what I figure they will be. Left field should be a battle between Los Angeles' Billy Cutgrass and Detroit's Morris Durant. Who do you think wins this matchup, Cutgrass or Durant?
I got to give it to Durant just because you could argue it's the same with matchups. You could argue that Cutgrass is just another part in that. He's just another gear in the whole Los Angeles Dodger machine. I mean, Durant has been borderline carrying the entire Detroit offense. I mean, he's about the only bright spot that Zum has on that team.
I am going to go with Cutgrass. Both of these players are on struggling teams, but Cutgrass, in my opinion, has simply just had more production. Like we talked about earlier with Sanchez, in my opinion. I think Durant, what he has done should not be discounted, but I just think Cutgrass's production, in my opinion, is a little more than that. And then that's why he had the most votes of any outfielder in the NL. I think Cutgrass is a face to be reckoned with, and I think you should be such a way. Moving on to center field, definitely probably the biggest battle we're going to have all weekend. Scotty Smalls for the Dodgers facing off against Baseball and McBaseball Face, the captain of the AL team, against Scotty Smalls. Who do you have here, Q?
I think it's Tampa. There's no badass than a guy that just comes in to say baseball.
I'm going to disagree with you in every way. Smalls is by far better. If we're not even going to discount the fact that Scotty Smalls is hitting over 500 right now, hit another home run this game that's going to boost that even further. 565, 800 slugging, 580 WOBA. Now 3 home runs in the year, 5 RBIs, 10 hits. And on top of all of that, Boston won the trade with McBaseball Face. That sent McBaseball Face out of Boston. I mean, and somehow this guy is captain of that team, and yet every analyst on every show unanimously agrees that in hindsight, Boston completely won. Lindros won that trade, ladies and gentlemen. Lindros did something good in the MLR. In all honesty, I legitimately think Smalls is the better player. I respect you, McBaseball Face, but Smalls is better, and Witt, you should regret trading.
I'm just heated. I didn't get that spot.
What'd you say?
I'm just heated that I didn't get that spot.
Me too, my friend. Me too. At least I'm on the bench. Anyway, moving on to right field now. A little bit of a more underrated matchup here between Mr. Haywood Jablomi and Mr. Peter Peckershine. 80 grade names, first of all, before I continue. Do you agree?
I'm giving this one to Peckershine. I just think with what he did in the past, plus you got to bring in the whole chorus factor. No, I'm messing with you. No, but especially if Peter Peckershine returns to what he was doing at the start of this season, I don't think there's a better player, a better right fielder than him.
I think it's close, but I'm going to also give it to Peckershine. I think the problem with him right now, which is surprising that he got in the All-Star game, first of all, because of this, is the small sample size. He had an okay game this session, 1 for 2. Don't think it was just a single. But I think Peckershine is the full package. But he hasn't fully proven it to me yet. Based on everything I've seen, I have no reason to believe he's not going to be this MVP candidate outfielder, top-of-the-line guy that Tampa Bay is going to regret trading for years to come. But based on what the evidence we have now, we don't have a whole lot to suggest that that's going to stand firm. But at the moment, based on the stats, I have to say Peckershine has outperformed Jablomi, but it's close. I will say Jablomi has definitely been the star in Colorado, despite what Garrett Evans will tell you. All right. Cardinals And Twins have an interesting matchup here at DH between Logan Ninefingers and Johnny Hopkins. This is an interesting one. A lot of power woven in between these two players. Who do you think is the better guy here, though?
This one's definitely tough. I mean, I'm not even sure if I can select somebody. I mean, I know Hopkins, you could argue a little bit smaller of a. Both of these guys, I think, have small sample sizes, if I'm recalling them right. But I mean, you could argue with Hopkins, you could argue that he's basically rekindled their offense. You could argue with Ninefingers that he's basically leading the St. Louis offense. It's a tough one. I'm not really sure if I can pick on this one.
I am gonna go with a razor thin pick and say Ninefingers. Despite the fact that I think if Hopkins was not traded to the Twins, I think he would have that starting spot at DH. I think Sanchez still wins the race, but I think Hopkins gets to start at third base nonetheless, or at DH. But Ninefingers, in my opinion, is still better than Hopkins. I think what he did in that game a couple of sessions ago for Cardinals really proves that he's the leader of that clubhouse, despite what George Ewell will say and his muddy puddles. But Ninefingers has been a dominatrix in the Cardinals' offense in the lineup, and I think that he's going to show that power in the DH spot for the Cardinals, or for the NL in the All-Star game. Starting pitching. We're not going to do the bullpen. We're just going to do starting pitching. Dan Jerzone, based on all votes and whatnot we have seen, is likely going to be the starter for the NL team. And Tim Burr are going to get the start. Pretty much a guarantee for the AL side of things. Who do you think is going to get the better starting job here? Jerzone or Burr?
I'm going with Jerzone. I mean, it's the obvious pick, and from umping Tim Burr, I know for a fact that he's a great guy, but he's not the most consistent out there. And what we've seen from Jerzone, apart from that one fluky start, I don't even remember which session it was, apart from that one fluky start, I think Jerzone's dominance was just too much to go against.
I think Jerzone is fantastic, and I think Jerzone was going to have a good game in the All-Star game in his 2 innings, but if I learned anything from my history books, is that you never bet against Aaron Burr in a duel. So, I'm going to pick Tim Burr here in this one, and I think Tim Burr is going to outperform Jerzone when it matters. I think the session was just kind of a shaking off, kind of relaxing. He was kind of just off focus because he was focused more on getting out of Tampa Bay and having a good show. He wasn't really paying attention too well against the Astros, and they kind of surprised him, considering the Astros have been kind of a team that surprises people in good and bad ways this year. Thanks, Wilbur. But I think Burr is going to strike again here for Jerzone, against Jerzone. So, yeah, I'm going to pick Burr. So now we have an interesting concept we're going to talk about now when it comes to snubs. So here's what we have done. We have taken the lead vote getter, or the next highest vote getter in every position on both sides, and matched them up against each other on teams. So here's some things we accepted, though. If you are a reserve on the All-Star team, you are not eligible for this list. So, for example, Barney Summers is the second best vote getter in the AL for catcher, but he is not going to be on the snub list. These are 20 players, rather, that are not going to be in the All-Star game, but in my opinion, we're snubbed. Or we are going to argue who was the worst snub, who deserved to be there more, but yet will not get to play and will have to spend their next week on their couch. So let's look at these teams. The AL side of things will feature Voorhees at catcher, Valentino Roland at first base, Atkins at second, Honcho at third, Bernie Pat at shortstop, Joe Trundle in left, Dad's Reference in center, Dill Pickle in right field, Nicky Falk at DH, and Ryan Gasting, the starting pitcher. The NL side of things will feature Gare Doctor at catcher, Emmerbach at first base, Mick Scrodington at second, Alpha at third, Scottish Tweedy at shortstop, James Earl Pones in left, Jimmy Johns in center, Charles Magnuson right, Peacock Andropov behind at DH, and Jameson Poe on the mound. So let's take this matchup by matchup, starting at catcher with Gare Doctor against Michael Voorhees. Who do you think was the bigger snub, Q?
I got to give this one to Voorhees, that he was traded basically on a limb by Doc Jam. I mean, the dude is just an offensive force. You can't doubt that. And I just think I love Gare. No harm, no foul to him. but I don't think he matches what Voorhees can provide.
I completely agree. In fact, even though I'm the all-star rep, I will say Voorhees has outperformed me in every way this year in terms of power. I think I'm a power hitter, and I still have 0 home runs in the year, and Voorhees has a couple. Voorhees is definitely much more of a face of the team than I am. He doesn't have a whole lot of Discord activity more compared to some other people on the team, but I think Voorhees deserves it much more than Gare. But I do think Gare has definitely stepped it up here in the last couple of sessions and should be commended for that, even though he's not really in contention for the all-star spot. Moving on to first base, Emmerbach and Valentino Roland. Who do you think was the bigger snub?
See, this one's tough. Valentino Roland definitely provides a lot for his team, but you could also argue that Emmerbach is invaluable to what he does for Pittsburgh to help Lummox out, help Gare out. It's really tough, but I think I got to side with Emmerbach on this one.
Alrighty. Moving on to the next matchup. Dick McScrodington IV against Mr. Rob Oh, sorry, I didn't even get to say my opinion. I think Emmerbach all the way. I think what he did last session in Los Angeles really shows his power. I think he definitely matches Forehead in many, many ways. But I think that he definitely beats Roland in every facet here, especially considering that Pittsburgh is really good and Detroit is not. Second base, McScrodington and Atkins. Who do you got?
I got to take McScrodington just off of the fact that I know that he's just, from what I hear from my sources in the Rockies clubhouse, he's a great guy. He leads them on and off the field. And he's no slouch when it comes to being on the field either. So I think I got to take McScrodington.
Alrighty. I think it's close, but I'm going to go with Rob Atkins. I think he has the better overall stats compared to McScrodington. I don't think McScrodington is as much of a leader as a guy like Atkins is, despite Atkins not really having a whole lot of Discord presence. But in my opinion, I have much more faith in Atkins than I do in a guy like McScrodington. Moving on to the next matchup, third base. Another Rocky, Jack Alpha, against Toronto's Mike Honcho. This one's really close in my opinion. I'm interested to see who you have to say first, Q.
See, this one definitely is very tough, but I think I got to take the hot hand here in Mike Honcho. Well, there really isn't such thing as a hot hand in fake baseball, is there? But I think I am going to have to take Mike Honcho off of just what he provides in that powerhouse that we call the Toronto infield.
This one is really close, but I think I'm going to have to go with Alpha. He's king of the diamond. He's all this. Honcho isn't even the starter in the infield. Like I said earlier, I think Honcho has had some incredible production, is definitely underrated, but I think Alpha, the more on-the-surface guys who belongs in the All-Star game more, in my opinion. All right, let's move on to shortstop here really quickly. Scottish Twiggy and Bernie Petrol. Twiggy, of course, has definitely been campaigned really hard for the All-Star game, but just didn't get in. Petrol, surprisingly enough, was the second highest vote getter at shortstop in the AL. Not a lot of competition in that field. Who do you think was the bigger snub?
I got to go with Twiggy. I mean, dude who got kicked out of the final vote. I mean, Petrol, there's not a lot of competition for shortstop in the AL. I mean, you got Durgish O'Leary, you got Lane, but there's less overall that you got to compete with. I mean, NL shortstop is just so much more difficult to obtain.
I'm going to go with Twiggy. I think that the campaign, first of all, is what really showed me about how great Twiggy is. And I think Twiggy is really the most underrated part of that Milwaukee team. I mean, we know about Pones and his offense. We know about Jerzone on the mound and Swanson now on the mound too, and Hitchens' activity and Jackman and some other guys. But I think Twiggy is incredibly underrated and is really a brute force in the top of that Brewers order. Moving on to left field now. Definitely the two guys that lost the final vote here in the All-Star game. James Earl Pones against Joe Trundle. Who do you got?
Trundle all day.
Really?
Yeah.
Why so?
He's the hot hand.
I think
he's the hot hand. I mean, I just think you can only have so many Brewers in the All-Star game.
Yeah. I think it's a lot closer. I don't think it's that laser thin. But I think that Trundle does take it as well. I don't think it's as Trundle all the way like you're saying, because I think Pones definitely has shown he has power, but I think Trundle just has a little more power. I don't think Trundle's the leader of that clubhouse. I think Barney Summers is far and away, but I think Trundle definitely deserves a lot of credit, as many people have attributed to him, and I think Trundle deserves it over Pones. Moving to center field now, Jimmy John's definitely a more underrated guy in the Pittsburgh lineup against Daz Reference. Who do you got?
I got to take Daz Reference because Jimmy John's is just another it's just another gear. I mean, you see how many quote unquote snubs we have here from Pittsburgh. They're all doing phenomenal as a unit, but perhaps their individual performances aren't as astounding as we'd think. I mean, sure, they could hit 4 doubles in a row, but you got to take Daz Reference, who's at the top of that Minnesota order, leading them into battle each week.
Having umped Pittsburgh before, I haven't really done a lot with Daz before, but just Daz has some good stats, but I think John's stats are just a little better. I've umped Jimmy before, and Jimmy's a really good guy. He loves to be early and punctual and get everything on really quickly. If there's a Crystal Cleat Award at the end of this year, and I get a vote for center field, I'm giving it to Jimmy right away. I think Jimmy is fast, he's responsive, and more so he loves the MLR. He's going to be the guest on Fireside Chat next week, which is going to be interesting considering the rivalry there with Pie. But I think Johns takes it here in a close one. Magnus and Pickle. This is an interesting one here. Two guys who don't talk a whole lot here. What's up, Q?
This one's tough. I was going to say, which at this point, who really doesn't have a rivalry with Pie?
That's true. That is very true.
This one, I think, purely based off the fact that he's a great guy. From umping him, he was all class in the exchanges that we've had.
I'm gonna go with Pickle. Seattle, all the power in the offense that we've seen out there in Seattle, I think it's starting to come together, and I think Pickle's a big reason for that. I think he's one of the more underrated guys in the clubhouse, as we talked about, and I think that underrated nature is what's going to get him the go-ahead, in my opinion, over a guy like Magnus. Moving on to DH, Andropov would be the next highest vote getter out of the snubs. The Giants catcher against Baltimore second baseman Nicky Falk. Who do you got?
Do you really expect me to take anyone except Andropov here?
Yes. Just kidding. I'm taking Andropov too, by far. Falk. I'm going to put this out there. You can fight me all you want, Chocolate Smegma, but Falk is the best female player in the league. Is there any debate about that?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think Falk's the best female player in the league by far, no questions asked. But I do think Andropov takes the victory here. He should be the starter for that team. I'm sorry, Pie. Communism belongs in the All-Star game this week. I'll give you your soup salad sandwich argument. I will not give you your communism argument. Communism belongs because Andropov is just that good. I disagree with him promoting communism. He should be banned from fake baseball activities for life. Shall he do such a thing in the most patriotic event of our time? But sure, give him the starting spot. He was snubbed wrongly based on capitalistic campaigns from Fireside Chat, and Andropov should be an all-star in any way. And the fact that he was not even second in catcher all-star voting is a farce, in my opinion.
Yeah. In the Giants clubhouse, we did have a lot of scuffling about that because we all agreed on the fact that the final two should have been Andropov and Garrett Doctor.
Oh, yeah.
And we firmly believed that that Andropov deserved the starting job, but we would have been fine if, say, Garrett Doctor would have gotten it.
Yeah.
But you're telling me that someone like Andropov, who came in, he was formerly Reddit only, came in first session that we played him we started him at catcher, came in, hit a home run. You're telling me someone who's continued that kind of production for a team like San Francisco to have the success that we have, it's invaluable. And the fact that he was snubbed was just disgusting.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Andropov's the better player than Falk, and he was snubbed on every level. He should be the starter over Doctor and Smudge. They're both good players, but Andropov's better. Moving on to the starting pitcher now. Jamison Poe for the Cardinals on the NL side. Ryan Gasting, Mr. Vanes himself, on the AL side. Who do you got?
I'm taking Vanes purely off of the fact that Poe has proved that you can leave a team, come back to the MLR as a pitcher, and not do absolutely phenomenally well. He's proved in this last session that he can be rocked. He is able to be taken down. I mean, that's obviously, I'm sure Gasting has been hit pretty hard in the past, but you're not going to take someone who was as close as Poe was, and once they start failing literally the week of the All-Star game, you're not going to put them in.
This is close because Gasting has been good, but
this is a very tough one.
That last game against Minnesota, I mean, yeah, he got the win, but he was lit up. On no matter how you slice it, 6 runs is nothing to turn the other cheek at.
Well, you could argue that Poe was rocked in his last start as well.
In my opinion, yeah. But here's the thing: Poe, despite the fact that he's only pitched from session 4 forward, he has been good. He has been all-star quality. The only reason that he's not an all-star is because of the small sample size. So that way, then you get into the Peckershine argument. So in my opinion, because I believe Peckershine deserves his spot, I'm going to say Poe deserves the win here over the win over Gasting. But I do not believe Poe is an all-star in any form, but I do think he's better than Ryan Gasting. Is that fair?
Yes, I believe firmly that if Poe was on an AL team, I believe firmly that he would have been easily making the All-Star game.
Alrighty then. So, moving right along here into our next topic of discussion. I'm not sure if any of you noticed today, but on our the 501D site, where a lot of articles have been posted recently, thanks to the new partnership between Jack Bing, Nick Cafardo, Robin Reynolds, and some of the other writers here for 501D and Fake Baseball. We have a new article out today here at the All-Star break titled, "How Can Each Team Improve in the Second Half of the Season?" Bing went through every team, interviewed some players and some GMs, and figured out what each team needs to do if they're going to move forward and win their division. So let's go through each division one by one, and I'm going to read to you the big. I'm not going to read everything. I'm going to just kind of summarize each team, and I'm going to see what you agree with. So starting here in the AL East, Bing believes the key for the Orioles is that they need to trade Pancakes away. Rob Pancakes, either their main starting pitcher, not Dipper, Pancakes, and try to get some more young bats in that offense. He didn't really list a whole lot of examples, but he brought up the new bats like Fully Loaded and Romero, but he didn't really bring up any examples of guys that they could bring in. He maybe talked about getting some guys from Texas that they've got some new bats flooded into those teams, maybe Houston and Fitz, and LA has some new bats like Cruz and Jerome and some other guys that they've brought in the last session. Do you think that's a good move for Toronto, or do you think that there's another solution that not Toronto, for that Baltimore needs to make other than moving Pancakes out?
I firmly believe that Charlie Yeager can become one of the better starting pitchers in the league if he's developed right. I mean, we've seen with these 2 new bats that Baltimore is able to develop players into pretty productive, I'd say. So I'd say let Yeager develop, trade Pancakes off for some younger bats, and try and move forward with Yeager and Dipper.
Okay, the next team, we have Boston Red Sox. He talks about how primarily the focus is going to be focusing on developing Barge and Lester, and not really adding any pieces or trading anything, but just mainly just focus on development and working inside the clubhouse to get those 2 guys better. And if those 2 guys will get better, then they'll be the complete package, basically. Do you agree with this take, or do you think that there's a transaction that needs to be made by Peppers once again to get this team where they need to be?
I think Peppers has done enough. I think at this point I completely agree with Bang. Just continue developing.
Okay. The Indians here, another quick take. He talks about something we talked about many a time on MLR Tonight, which is that Indians don't really have a face. They continue to shuffle the clubhouse over and over again and move players around. Morello's gone. Buxton's gone. All these guys from the earlier part of the season are all out of the team, and yet he has new guys now, like Tuna on the mound after being acquired from Detroit, and he has all kinds of guys like Collins and Brotani and Runzer and Yaxley and Atra and Pohl and Foxconn. He has all these new faces, but not a lot of chemistry. Do you agree with the take that they need to find this leader and really start to get their PA totals up for their guys and find some consistency in the lineup?
Find someone. BB can't be the. I think Foxconn's the move.
Alrighty, moving on to Detroit here. Another quick hit. He pretty much says, stop trading. No more selling. Let the team develop on their own. Get these guys together and get them chemistry, and that's what's going to get them better. Do you agree, or do you think that it's time to sell in Detroit?
I think it's time for a fire. I think Zum tries to replicate what Peppers did in Boston. And what, more importantly, what BB Bambino did in Cleveland. I think he tries to replicate that. Whether he gets success or not, oh well. But I think he doesn't really have a choice.
Alrighty, moving on to Tampa Bay. The quick answer here, they say do something about Dom. He is the one weak link in that roster. If they can figure things out in left field, that team's going to be better. They've been trying some guys like Abiscal and their new guys like Olatudon and stuff out in left field, but they don't know if they have a full-time solution. Do you agree that Dominus Dominus is the one weak link in the lineup, or is there another move that Tampa Bay needs to make if they're going to win?
I think, yeah, they need an outfield piece that will at least hit above the Mendoza line.
Alrighty, and last but not least, the Toronto Blue Jays. He says, quote, get your hands on an elite catcher. They tried to do that back in Session 3 by acquiring Milo Grams, but it hasn't pulled out. He's got a negative WAR, and his WOBA's hilariously small. Quentin Adams hasn't been the catcher that he's been hoping to be all year. They don't have the guy behind the plate that they need. Is that what they need to fix, or are there other issues that we're not noticing in Toronto?
I think Milo Grams, after the All-Star break, I think he clears his head. I think shot to return to MVP caliber for him.
All right. Moving on to the next one. We're going on to the AL West now. Let's talk about these teams, starting with the Houston Astros. He says they need another Willoughby Hoos. Obviously, it's going to be nearly impossible to get Hoos back, pending an unretirement from Dougie McElroy, in which case they automatically will get Hoos back. But they're not going to be able to find that leader on the mound that they had before. I mean, I doubt Copper's going to become that based on the runs per six and the ERA that we've already discussed. But is that what they need? They just need that leader on the mound, or are there other missing links on the lineup and in the field that we're not noticing?
I completely agree with Bang. I think they need a front man in their rotation. Maybe they go out. Maybe they go after who's Baltimore Pancakes. Maybe they go after him.
All right. How about the Twins? He is quoted as saying, nothing, not a thing. Do you agree, or is there something that the 5 and 4 Twins need to work on?
I think maybe they should make is get Burrow a little help. Don't have him pitch a full game.
That's an interesting take. Interesting. I like that. Yeah, Collins obviously is there to help, but they haven't really seen a whole lot of production again out of the rest of that rotation as we've been discussing. Moving forward, the next team on the list is the Oakland A's. Again, as we talked about early in the year, the leaders early in the show, the leaders manufacturer in Wasson have been struggling. Bing says they need to do something about it. Do you agree, or do they need to develop another leader, as you talked about earlier?
Develop another leader, or just start a fire sale at this point.
For Oakland,
they're not the same team that they were last season.
Wow, that's a hot take. So you don't think this has been a surge? You think that this has just been a fluke? Basically, the last 4 games.
I mean, I don't want to say it's been a fluke because I think a fluke would have ended by now. but
Well, it kind of did.
they need to be. They need a reboot. Simple as that.
Wow. That's a bold take. All right. Cucumber, ladies and gentlemen, the Oakland A's need a reboot. Wow. All right. Seattle.
We're the best Bay Area team.
Seattle. Being is quoted as fixing the run differential. As we talked about, they have a run differential of 1, which is crazy considering that they're 4th in the lead in runs scored, and they just lost a game where Mio Langley hit 3 home runs. They have a below 500 record, and they will hold that heading into the All-Star break regardless of whether or not they hold this win out against Baltimore. Do you agree that they need to get the pitching figured out if they're going to win? Or do you think that this game by Zift really shows signs of them getting the pitching figured out?
It's tough because I want to say here they go pancakes or bust. But I'm not sure that's what they. I'm not sure that can be their guy. Maybe they try to acquire someone else. I don't know.
All right, and last but not least, in this division, we have the Texas Rangers. He says a lot here at the Rangers. He says pretty much the whole thing is that they need to really find their core. They need to cradle it, and they need to add pitching on top of it. Obviously, they have 3-finger, and they're going to try over break to see if they can get some activity out of Sonny Streaker. But they don't really, again, have a core. I mean, you want to say Morello maybe, and you have Summers and Trundle, but they really don't have a lot of activity out of those guys. Do you agree with the take that they need to cradle the core, or do you think it's another reboot situation in Texas?
I think they just keep that core and they try to rebuild around them.
That's pretty good advice, if you ask me. All right, let's hop on to the National League now, starting the East side with the Montreal Expos. Bing has the hottest of all hot takes here by saying they need to trade Tiberius Jr. I would argue that Tiberius Jr. is back on the rise and is getting better. Do you agree here? Do you think they should sell Tiberius while they have high, or do you think that they should keep him and try to make a run at the NL East?
I think the NL East is a very it's a division that's up in the air. I think I completely agree with Bing. I say maybe at the deadline Tiberius goes for someone like maybe Texas goes for a full fire sale. Maybe they get a Barney Summers for Cal Tiberius.
All right, moving on here to Milwaukee. Probably my favorite take of all of these. Get Kev Ariana back. They need to go apparently to Houston and pay an arm and a leg to get him back. Sell everything they can to get his morale back on the roster. Do you agree?
Fully agree.
But he didn't even have good stats. He was the 3rd catcher on the team.
Get him to come back as a pitcher. Help Dan Garzone. And Ron Swanson.
Wow. All right. All right. Philadelphia. Believe it or not, the argument here is not to move Quinn to the bullpen. In fact, it's start Quinn more. He says, quote, Philly need to stop being afraid of guys they can't communicate with. They haven't signed a Reddit-only player since Pie Bacon, who was waived and claimed by Houston before playing a game with the team. This may be a reason that they are at 4-5. Do you agree with this take about how they need to value the Reddit-only talent, or even start Quinn more, or is there something else we're missing here in Philly?
I disagree with the first point, but agree with the second one. I think Urich has the ability to start every single game for Philly, and then have just Oliver Yu and Hudson Quinn work out of the bullpen. And I completely agree with the idea of Reddit-only talent being valued way more than it is right now.
I completely agree with you on that too. Owen Urich is a beast, and I don't think Pie has it figured out right now. I think Pie is a closer, all in all, no matter what he'll say. Pittsburgh. Send Johnny Dickshaw a basket of fruit and get him back. I love this take so much, but I think it's impossible. Do you agree?
I agree that it's impossible. I mean, as scary as that rotation would be, imagine Crumble Puff, who's absolutely lights out, Darth Vader, who quite far and away might be the Cy Young, that maybe has a shot at MVP, keep shutting teams out. If they got Dick Shot back, I don't know what they do with him. Maybe they would retrade him and he would go on that same journeyman phase again. I just don't think this is the right idea.
Alrighty, moving on here to the next team. That's the St. Louis Cardinals. He is a little bit here. It's basically saying that they should part with a few. Maybe Nine Fingers is the guy to move around that can fetch a return to help them compete now and later. They're not a team that looks ready to. I mean, obviously the Cardinals probably are going to be making a run at the division, but he does not think that they're the complete package yet. With only a 251 team batting average, which is kind of surprising considering their pitching doesn't look all that glamorous. He also suggests maybe trading George Ewell, but his Discord presence is kind of hard to move. Do you agree with the take, or is there something else you would say that needs to be done in St. Louis?
I think the move, I completely agree with Bing here. I think that Nine Fingers could be traded. I think Kegs Mabry does have a surprising amount of trade value if that's the move that SteelFlex decides to make. But I think definitely they need to get rid of some of their least productive bats.
All right, and last but not least, in the NL East, Bing suggests that Mick Frizzle should do something that no GM has done before: sell at the deadline. Get rid of Hildebrandt, get rid of Jones, and hopefully you can sign them back in the offseason back come October. He says keep Omega on the roster because he's special and can do some interesting things, but Hildebrandt should go, Jones should go, Larry should go, Garcia should go. Get everybody off this team that could bring in value and get them picks in the expansion draft. Do you agree?
Fully agree. I don't think Nationals can really salvage their season at this point.
I completely agree with you. All right, moving on to the NL West now. Let's start with the Diamondbacks. And we talked about this earlier in the show many times, and we brought this up again, but he believes that the sole issue here is Einhorn. The regression came out of nowhere for the European. He was Cy Young runner-up last year, but now all of a sudden he has a 7.60 ERA. Out of nowhere, he has caused the Diamondbacks to fall into a hole, despite the fact that they can hit run after run, but they give up just as many on the other end of it, kind of like Seattle, but a little bit of a worse situation. Do you agree here that that's the issue, that they need to get him good and then maybe even sell him after that? Or is there deeper issues rooting within Chase Field?
I completely agree with this. I think if they get Einhorn to a point where they could fetch a good return for him, they got to move him, get some more help for their lineup.
All right. Colorado here is the next opinion, is that we need to do something about Garrett Evans. We hinted at this earlier in the show, talking about how maybe Evans would be better in the bullpen following Hank Murphy, but then again, you got to look at Evans's K per 6, which is abnormal completely in how high it is compared to his ERA. Do you think the bullpen is a better spot for Evans, or do you think maybe it should be an Evans-Murphy combo in the reverse order and not this kind of rotation that Poffenberger has developed?
I don't know what the hell happened to Garrett Evans. He was so promising coming into the draft.
He really was. It's crazy.
Like, he was so hyped up. I think the hype got to him. Maybe he needs to change the scenery, honestly.
Maybe. But is that good for pretzels, though?
You figure he gets a good start out of Evans, or a good relief appearance out of Evans, with the whole idea, hey, this is the reason that we took the first overall pick.
That is very true. That is very true. All right. Dodgers, basically saying they need to solidify a good pitcher. McElroy, ERA through the roof. Brait has been broke all year. They've tried signing this new guy, Igna Comet. They're going to test him out in Eco, I assume, pretty soon to see what he's made of. The pieces aren't there in the mound for the Dodgers, and that's why they're going to be 3-6 after this session. But the offense is ridiculously through the roof. Is that all? I don't think you can really argue this one. That is what it is, right?
Yeah, I can't argue this. I don't Igna Comet. No offense to him. I don't believe in Brait. Brady is an interesting take. He did pitch a decent game against us. But I think the move here, maybe we have another another possible player in this whole pancakes lottery.
Yeah, that's very, very true. All right. Padres. The idea here is that they need to boost everything, boost the average and the run per six. Even if they're winning games 9-7, he basically says that's an improvement around this team, even if that ERA is going to start spiking. Obviously, Grimes has been pitching okay, but other than that, they really don't have any other shining lights. Obviously, Forehead Jones being the NL team captain, which is debated on many levels. But what do you think is the issue here with the Padres? Is it they need to build around Jones? Do they need to sell? What do they need to do?
Just build around literally Forehead Jones and Cannonball Dickerson. I really don't think they have any other assets. Just tank this year. Maybe trade for as many draft picks as you can get out of everything else you have. But they don't have many bright spots. Just keep the ones that you have.
If they're going to sell, though, you have to ask this question: wouldn't Dickerson be the first guy you'd want to move? I mean, Preller has stated multiple times he doesn't have full faith in Dickerson after the whole balloon incident that happened back in Session 2. And he's stated multiple times that Dickerson's more of a DH than a player. In fact, I think this is the first time Dickerson has seen the field all year this week, playing at third base. With that in mind, does it make sense, considering the GM's perception of the team's treatment of Cannonball, to move him?
I mean, you could argue that maybe you could get a first-round pick in the expansion draft out of it, or the redraft, whatever's going to happen. But it's really just a question at this point of what does Preller want to do? Does Preller want to stick with what he's got? Does Preller not want to move Cannonball Dickerson to get some pitching help, some badly needed pitching help at that? It's Preller's team, Preller's move at this point.
Completely agree. All right. Last but not least, your San Francisco Giants. The advice here is to, instead of going on the back and forth idea of having Peter start one game and Matt Petty start the next, he's saying Peter's every game on the mound starting 4 innings and then Matt Petty finishing off the other 2. Do you agree?
I have a nice feeling that I spoke with Jonathan Park and Mudflap Ricketts before coming on just now about this. And I think we're into this idea, and me knowing Madhava Petty in real life, I could definitely talk to him about this, and I think he would be very open to it, considering that, at least from what we've seen, this can only do good for us.
Alrighty. Quick around the league update really fast. Smorin is officially up to bat for Tampa Bay here in, I believe, the top of the 6th. Let me look here. No, bottom of the 4th. My bad. I'm literally an idiot. Tampa Bay up to bat, bottom of the 4th. Anatoly Smorin at the plate. Definitely a slow session on many ends here as we head into the All-Star game. This is just one of those games as Smorin looks... Actually, no, scratch that. Sorry. Smorin was auto-walked. That's correct. Masters has auto-walked Smorin. So the Devil Rays have a base runner here to lead off the bottom of the 4th. That'll bring up Lawrence Wiseman. And presumably, Masters is about to exit the game in favor of Woolridge here momentarily. I wouldn't expect anything different than that. Moving forward, I don't believe we have any other updates for you at this time. Just kind of flipping through here. Everything else looks the same. Still waiting on a result for Mr. King Fielder in that Washington-Montreal game. We don't have a result yet for Brody, who has swung in Baltimore-Seattle. All right, well, let's move on to fan mail. We have a couple questions here for us. Jimmy Johns asks.
Oh, God.
Jimmy Johns has the first question here. He asks, why will Milo Grams never return to MVP form? I'll repeat the question. Milo Grams never return to MVP form. Q, you can start.
That's a hot take.
It is.
That's a very hot take. I mean, I think he's going to clear, just my opinion, I think he's going to clear his head. I think he's going to come back set to that MVP form after the All-Star break.
Right after, or do you think it'll take more time?
I mean, Ideally, if Toronto would like to move him for possibly a better catcher, maybe like a Voorhees or someone, ideally you'd want him to get back going before the deadline. But I think at this point we just wait and see.
If Grams gets back to MVP form, let me ask this question. If he does get back to MVP form and start slugging away, there's no way that the Blue Jays are going to be putting up 12 runs a game consistently. There's going to be someone who falls off. Who do you think that guy's going to be? Is it going to be Honcho? Is it going to be Drew, Jorgensen, Grams, Ziggy Cedar at the top of the lineup? Who's going to be the guy that falls because of Grams' rise?
I mean, I think he definitely, if he comes back to that MVP form, he can outshine someone like a Ziggy Cedar, but it's really just a question of if or can he or when will he return to that form.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think he will return to that form. Whether it's in the Blue Jays uniform or not is yet to be seen. But I think he definitely has it in him. It's just a matter of time is the more prevalent issue. All right, let's move on to our next question here. This one comes from Mr. Spaghetti Hitchens. He says, since we are now at the halfway point, who are your picks for the MVP and Cy Hat Award in each league? Let's start with the pitchers. Let's start with Cy Hat in the NL. Who are you taking for the Cy Hat Award in the National League?
Obvious choice here is Garzone. I mean, I think it's still anyone's award at this point, I think. I think one's bad start could really derail either of those two, but obviously don't sleep on Andrew Peters, don't sleep on Jamison Poe. All of them still have a good shot at the award.
I would say it's Vader right now. I think Pittsburgh is going to hold up more. I think Brewers are not going to get past us in Session 10. I think Drill's going to struggle against our offense, considering what Shaq and Al Halladay are about to do to them next game. I think that Vader is going to be more consistent. I think his stat prowess is going to outrun the much more classical Danger Zone. Let's move on to AL Cy Hat. Who do you got?
AL is a lot tougher. I don't want to say Timber as much as I feel like that would be. As much as I feel like he has the best shot to win it, I feel like it might be Con Copper.
Wow,
that's who my gut is. Right now.
Whoa, Con Copper. So do you think?
I think for some reason I think he's going to settle in after the break, and I think he's going to go on a tear.
So you think he will be the next Willoughby Hughes?
I think he might be.
All right. I'm going to go with not Timber as well. In fact, I'm going to go with Sal Shark with the repeat. I think Oakland is better. I disagree with you on your take that Oakland's falling off. In fact, I think they're just getting started this year. They may be 4-5 going to the break, but I think they're going to rise up, and I think Shark's going to lead that fight. I think Schwizzle is incredibly underrated and should be considered just as much for the Cy Hat Award at this point, despite less starts. But I think that runaway win for Sal Shark by the time we get to Session 18. How about MVP in the NL? Who do you got?
MVP is a tough award because of how volatile this game that we play called fake baseball can be. I mean, geez, I didn't study up on this one. I mean, if Andropov continues, give it to Andropov.
See, my thing on this award is the two people that immediately come to mind for me are Forehead Jones and Valentino Sanchez. But I have a problem making them the most valuable player because neither of their teams are any good right now. So with that being said, it comes down to who's the most valuable player on the most valuable team in the National League. And there are very few guys that really fit that category. But in my opinion, the guy that really does it the most is probably going to be Lance Lummox for Pittsburgh. I mean, that team is going to be 6-3 now going to the break, 13 RBIs. I think Lummox is an MVP candidate, and I think, sleeping on him, I think he's going to hit more home runs, maybe less RBIs. I think it's just going to be more long dongs for him come the back half of the season. The RBIs may slow down. He may get passed by some guys like Andropov and Pones and some guys, but I think, in my opinion, Lummox is probably going to be the most valuable player in the NL. All right, how about AL? Who do you think?
For the AL, I think I got to go with Grim Carp here. I think what he provides to Tampa, he is the man of few words from what I've heard from Whit Bass when I was on Fireside. He's the man of few words, but I think those few words definitely help out that clubhouse a lot. And obviously on the field, he's an animal.
Time for a hot take. Barney Summers. No, I'm not kidding. The batting average is too good. I don't think Texas is done playing this season yet. I think Three Fingers got more to prove. I think Morello is going to come out and start smacking. I think Toronto's going to be good. But on top of all that, I think Summers doesn't stop one bit. He's going to be fired up because of the way the voters treated him and the way that Tampa Bay ran the vote this time around. He's going to be livid and he's going to be ready to play. And I think he's going to come right out of the gate in the second half and keep up what he's doing if he doesn't improve upon it. And I think Barney Summers not only will be the best player in the AL, I think he'll be the best player in the league by the time we get to Session 18. And it won't even be a case. Won't even be something that Jay can debate. I'll make a case, and I think Whit will be crying that his Grim Carp didn't win MVP. All right, speaking of the Devil Rays, JD De Los Rosas has our last question for us tonight. He asks, quote, "Why are the Tigers so slow?"
That's a very good question.
It's a very good question.
Geez, that's tough. I blame Zum having his actual name as his name in Discord is Zum Boner. I blame that.
I blame the fact that how many other guys are international? We have John Johnson Jr., who's international. Based on a name, I have no reason to believe that Hans Ali isn't international. Probably Durat seems like the kind of guy that's probably international. Same with C.H. Lee. Bart Masters seems like an international guy. They probably have a ton of under-the-table international guys that won't admit it. And I think it's really giving them the Sardinka Dipper treatment, and that's why they can't win, because none of them are ever online at the same time to actually talk with each other. They're probably scattered throughout the earth in like little huts in random countries in Europe and Africa and Asia. And they never actually speak to each other.
Fun fact, I'm signed up for the international team in the international USA game.
Really?
And
what country?
I'm hearing currently, I am about 75% Italian.
Oh, wow.
I'm 3 generations removed. And from what I'm hearing right now, Preller said he's planning on starting me in center field. So there's a little announcement.
All right, we got some breaking news here. But that's a good talk on the Tigers. All right, so it's 9:55 on the East Coast, and we don't have any more updates for you other than that auto walk. If we get anything in the next 5 minutes on SM Brody or King Fielder, I will let you know. But for right now, let's move on to our final thoughts. If you've ever seen this show before, this is your first time watching, you know that in our final thoughts is a segment where our guest and yours truly will step up, get on the stand, and say whatever they have to say. They can rant, they can ask a question, they can start a discussion, they can sing a song, do a dance, do whatever they feel. This is their time to talk about the game or anything they may choose. All right, Q, what are your final thoughts?
I love the MLR. This game's giving me a lot of friends. This game's giving me one enemy. Love you, Morello. I mean, if you want a community where you can belong and you can just have fun, be active in Discord. Speak up. Make your name known. I mean, that's how I went in the third round. That's how I went so high. It's because I was just so active in the Discord. I got people to know me. I made friendships. I networked. I made connections. If you're a new player in this league and you're just trying to make yourself known, that's the biggest advice I can offer you.
All right. Thank you, Q. Now I'll take my turn. I have a history of ranting about very random topics, and I have no intentions to change that this week. As many of you know who's been keeping up in Free Talk, I took a little trip down to Orlando this week and spend some time in Disney World and Universal Studios. Let me get on my soapbox here and make a very, very bold statement that I'm sure will rile up many Jemmies, including Doms. The best ride in Tomorrowland is the Carousel of Progress. And here is why. Number one, you get to sit in an air-conditioned room in the middle of Orlando, Florida for 25 minutes in a rotating room. There's no seatbelts. You're on a ride that moves, and a story is being told to you. You don't even have to have any sort of protection. You just get to sit there in a comfy movie theater seat in the dark in an air-conditioned room. And on top of that, you are being told a story from the 60s about what's going to happen in the future. And Walt Disney is right. In 1964, Walt Disney predicted flat-screen televisions, virtual reality games, and Alexa. He predicted all three of those things in that attraction, and that attraction still runs today. Furthermore, it has the catchiest song I have ever heard in my life. So with those three things in mind, I can tell you without a doubt that Carousel of Progress is better than Space Mountain. It is better than the People Mover. It is better than Buzz Lightyear. It is better than Astro Orbiter. It is better than Stitch's freaking whatever he has. That's close, thank the Lord. It's better than the Monster Inc. Laugh Floor. It is the best. It's better than whatever the Tomorrowland Speedway has become now. It is the best attraction in Tomorrowland.
My money is on People Mover on the right day.
It is a good ride. It is a very quality ride, I will say. It's a quality ride. But in my opinion, the Carousel of Progress is the best ride in Tomorrowland. And that is the end of my rant. All right. Okay. We do have a quick update before we go off the air. James Mesa is officially up to bat in Brewers Padres, so I expect we'll see a result any moment here. There it is. Here it is right now. King Fielder gets a leadoff single here for the Expos in the bottom of the fourth. The second hit of the day for the Expos, third hit total in this game. He will get the leadoff knock and be on first base, as that will bring up Mr. Nate Lewis to the plate. So yeah, that is where we will end the show tonight. Q, thank you for joining me.
I guess all I got is stay classy, MLR.
Yes. Stay classy, MLR. Stay classy, Whitbass. Stay classy, Pie. Stay classy, everyone. More Meerstats, Meerkat. All right. Tomorrow.
Pie doesn't know how to stay classy.
That is very true. Tomorrow night on MLR Tonight, we will be live 7:30 Eastern Time. My guest will be Daz Reference, outfielder for the Minnesota Twins, and Mr. Dong Huge Manchild, infielder for the San Diego Padres. We're going to get Sale on a podcast, Q. Are you happy about that?
I mean, the man has attractive kids.
That is true.
I mean, he's got a nice beard.
Yeah.
Other than that, he's pretty wholesome. Came in, and everyone instantly loved him. He's active in Discord. I don't see a problem with it.
All right. Be sure to tune into that 7:30 Eastern Time. No doubleheader tomorrow. Just going to be me and those two chatting MLR for a couple hours as we head into the weekend. Of course, look forward to Sunday night. As MLR Network will be broadcasting live the Twins and Phillies live exhibition, and they are going to attempt to play a full game in one night. All 18 players will be live online, and they will be attempting to play a full game in one night. I will not be on with that crew. I'll have some other events going on, but be sure to tune in for that one here on the MLR Network. And, of course, we'll be back next weekend with both shows with some more action. Thank you, Q, once again for joining me tonight, and thank you all for tuning in to 4 hours of live MLR Tonight coverage. This is a record, and we did it. So